Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Xcession ESM podcast. A bit of a special one today where Sonal and I are going to be talking about Xanadu, the very recent ServiceNow release, and really just have a bit of an insight dig around some of the new features that have been showcased in the market space and really give a bit of an opinion.
Yeah, so ServiceNow have definitely gone to town with this release, haven't they, Dan?
100%.
Because this is the one where they are really introducing a broad range of AI use cases across the platform. So this, I think, is not just a toe in the water. This is, they've jumped in up to their knees at least.
Oh gosh, I'd say up to their shoulder. Yeah. I mean, it's not just the AI elements as well. It's huge from a rebranding perspective as well. We've seen a lot of changes there. It's not just digital transformation anymore. It's business transformation. ServiceNow is the platform to transform your business. Now,
yeah, I think this one's really worth just spending 60 seconds on. So digital transformation has been the buzzword for however long have you been in IT, Dan? And
oh gosh, yeah. It's been transforming for 20 plus years, right? Probably 40.
Yeah. And it hasn't yet transformed. So actually, I think ServiceNow, in line with their overall platform approach, workflows across the enterprise, have realized that if you transform digital, then you are transforming business. And I think, this is the direction that they should be going in. They are, with perhaps Atlassian, right, alongside them to a degree, but, they are the preeminent platform play in the market, the most complete platform that's available for the enterprise. And so actually, with CEO level attention, you don't really want to be focused on digital transformation. You need to be talking about business transformation, and you need to be talking about how that impacts on investors, shareholders, market position, your ability as an organization to address your market. So I think this is exactly the right thing to do.
I 100% agree. And I think it's worth just sort of commenting there as well, that step away from digital, digital IT, technology is so well embedded in everything that people do nowadays that it's not really anything special anymore. It's an expectation that's always going to be there now. So it is by extension, transforming the digital piece is just going to have an impact across the business. And I think ServiceNow, as well as a lot of other organizations in this space, have recognized that. We often talk about the fact there's IT service management, but ultimately it's just really service management or enterprise service management. So very interesting to see that they've, copied us in that respect.
Yes, that's right. Point scored for us.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting, though, is that at the heart of this, it is still a system of request and action. I am a consumer of a business service, whether that's IT, HR, finance, facilities, whatever it may be. I have a request, or I have something that I need fixed, and actions follow from that. Or I am a member of a team that is looking at change within the organization, and we have a request for a change, and there are a set of actions. So how they are approaching this with AI is to introduce that generative AI capability into all of those workflows across the entire tool set, across the entire platform, whether that's in their ITSM or their IT service management area, whether that's in their IT operations management area, finance, HR, etc., etc. So, perhaps what they've done, which is significantly in advance of others, is look across the platform and find a way in which AI can be used across all of those workflows. which is a big engineering challenge, I would imagine. And I'm sure they've been very hard at work.
Well, yeah, I mean, the video, which I'm sure many of you listening to this podcast will have seen, the Xanadu released, our biggest AI release ever. You know, they talk about the engineering hours and the amount of time spent and the number of engineers on this. But what's interesting to me is that it's just kind of let AI loose, saying, right, here's an organization. AI has just gone through everything, saying, right, come up with some activities that we feel that AI can best assist with here, right? So it's quite incredible, absolutely incredible. It'd be very interesting to see and hear about some successful use cases out of this. Yeah, very excited.
Yeah. So talking of use cases, let's maybe talk through some of the things that perhaps our customers, who tend to be in the IT, HR, and probably finance facilities space, what they might see from some of these AI or these generative AI developments. So I guess the first thing to talk about, and this is not news, but is a massive part of the sell, because this is a paid for service, of course, is that your AI agent, your AI capability is 24/7, 365. Your AI agent doesn't have sick leave. Your AI agent doesn't get upset when you, talk to them in a way that perhaps, they're sensitive to. Your AI agent doesn't ask for holiday and try and barter for more days or to be paid for the days they haven't used.
That's coming in the next release, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, AI agents with emotion.
Yeah. But I mean, that is a game changer, right? So AI agents working 24/7, 365, as you said, no leave, no sickness, no dental care, no medical benefits or anything else there.
Yeah.
And supporting the teams that are in situ, absolutely game changing from what I can infer.
Yes, although it is worth calling out that just because they don't have issues with their teeth doesn't mean that they don't need feeding and watering and looking after. They will need feeding and watering and looking after, because no business is static. Businesses change. In fact, if businesses were static and didn't change, we wouldn't need many of these new features and capabilities, right? Actually, the fact that your business will be dynamic will mean that your use cases will change over time. And so there will be a cost of maintenance associated with these technologies. And I think people need to factor that in whenever they think about introducing AI agents.
Yeah, I think you're dead right there, Sunil, because equally, there's going to have to be some sort of what the equivalent of an onboarding activity would be for a new employee, because they need to be trained, right? Arguably, it looks great in the demo and everything else, but they don't kind of talk about, right, it's taken us X number of weeks or months to be able to have this AI agent up and running. It could be that it's a matter of days. It just scans everything that's in situ within the organization, knowledge, processes, looks at history there and sees what's worked, what hasn't, and made inferences out of that and come up with a set of actions. Obviously, it's great when it works, but like all of these things, like anything in life, when it doesn't work, okay, you need to then take some remedial activities there to address that and improve it going forward. So there's elements of CSI. And then indeed, when your business does change, you're bringing on board new services, or you want to offer new services to your customers, then how adaptive is it in that instance? I'm sure that very adaptive, and I imagine they would say that that's up and running in a matter of a very short time frame. But certainly, there's a lot of articles out there about how do you train these things and then bring them on board, right? Get them up and running. But I guess it's a question in this instance, you can train it once and then you have just a duplication of that across. So ultimately, if you're getting lots of inbound queries, that singular AI agent is replicated across the platform to handle that, which again, extremely powerful in my view.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a piece around here around getting mind share as well. I mean, I think within the technology space, we all probably agree that generative AI and generative AI capabilities like AI agents are coming. It's just a question of how and when. But I would offer up an example, perhaps, of a similar capability that's been around for quite a long time in terms of virtual agents. Your ubiquitous chat bots that you'd find if you buy a mobile phone from O2 or 3 or whomever it may be. And actually, I don't think, yes, they are around. Yes, they are actually fairly ubiquitous, but I don't think they've got mind share. Right? People don't really want to engage with the bot. Why don't they want to engage with the bot? Because the bot doesn't really offer great customer experience.
Yep.
It offers organizations operational efficiencies, sure, but people, if given a choice, may well choose to speak to or live chat with a real person rather than with a bot. And I think we agree, don't we, that AI agents are coming, but can they capture mind share early on with great results to avoid some of that perception or that negativity that's been associated with other technologies?
No, again, full agreement. I think the thing, and from my own experience with these kind of virtual agents, chatbots, is that they've just not been set up very well. They've been put in place very quickly, and you generally end up leading to some level of frustration with them, where actually I just want to speak to a person because you're not helping me here. I've just answered a load of questions. It's either broken or the workflow there isn't quite right. So again, I think that's sort of then, okay, the AI agents, how are they going to get around that? Which kind of loops back to how do we train these things? How do we onboard them effectively so that they're an effective employee of the organization? Yeah. So that will be interesting in of itself.
Indeed.
And then I think if you start digging deeper there, if these things are going out, looking at all of the source material within an organization, knowledge, articles, history, of incidents or interactions with the customer service environment, that information that it's training on, much like if you're learning from a textbook and it says in there that 2 + 2 = 5, and that's what you've learned, but it's inherently wrong, that needs to be unpicked at some point potentially. So I think that speaks somewhat to let's call it the level of maturity of organizations, where they've got all of these foundational aspects really well kind of in place and nailed down to then be able to take advantage of this. Yes. Could be completely wrong. It could be that the AI is so advanced that it says, 2 + 2 doesn't = 5 because I've referenced something else, and it says actually 2 + 2 = 4. So you're wrong, Mrs. Organization.
Well, I don't think you are wrong, and I would point any listeners to the conversation we had with Tim Mills of IT People, yeah. where actually Tim's view, and very strong view, was that before organizations try and take on these kind of capabilities, they need to get the basics right. You get the basics right and set the foundation, the platform, as you said, and then build from there. But let's just run through a use case, the one that has been in the videos that ServiceNow have done. So if anyone's not seen that, go and have a look. But what we've got there is, it's customer service, but you could imagine this in IT as well. In fact, it's arguably a use case that sits firmly in the middle. So you've got an issue that's been flagged. The agent goes onto the portal, and the issue is raised via a card for the agent. And what the agent sees is a generative AI created summary of steps that have already been taken to try and remediate the issue. In this case, I think it's a faulty modem or something.
Faulty router or something, isn't it? Modem?
Router, yeah. But a number of steps that have already been undertaken by the AI agent itself. So immediately the point is that the customer has raised an incident. The incident has been analyzed by an agent. A number of remedial steps have been undertaken by the agent. Mm-hmm. They have not been successful, or they need a human's approval. and only at that point is it raised with the agent themselves, the human themselves.
Yeah.
So, depending on the complexity of that, that could be quite a lot of work that's undertaken very quickly because it's done by an agent and an AI agent and not by a human agent. It may not be that much of a time saving, right? It depends, as I say, on the complexity and the nature of the incident. But at least you can see immediately, if you are able to apply that use case across 10,000 tickets of a similar nature in the last 2 years in your organization, you might well be able to identify tangibly a time and money saving opportunity. So I guess that's the first point to call out. Now, what has the agent done? The AI agent. We have to be really careful here, right? What has the AI agent done?
Yeah.
Right. It's been and reviewed knowledge articles. It's been and matched the incident that's been raised by the user to similar tickets and has identified how those tickets were resolved. It has communicated in an email to the end user saying, I acknowledge your issue. Have you looked at this knowledge article? This is the next step, etc. And at that point, it has provided a recommendation or a course of action that it presents to the human agent. And the human agent reviews all of that and says, yes, I agree with everything that you've done, AI agent. Yes, I agree with your recommended course of action and I approve it. So yes, go for it. And the AI agent then fulfills on that course of action.
So absolutely right. Great. Yeah, it's always good to see the happy path in these kind of demos.
Yes.
What would be really interesting is to sort of see some of the unhappy paths or where it's not going precisely to plan. What I found interesting was that in the video, and we'll put a link to the video we keep referencing in the description of the podcast, so there's no ambiguity around that. Is it says, it updates the knowledge article because I think they say that, okay, yeah, in this instance, if they've been a loyal customer for a number of years, then we can offer them a free replacement. So then it goes and updates the policy around that. The knowledge article's been updated. Brilliant. I can get on with my day now, go and have another coffee, whatever the case may be. But then who is, arguably then there's a knowledge manager who has to validate that knowledge update, right? Make sure it's correct, uses the appropriate terminology and everything else. So that because that's been updated, right? Okay, I recommend this course of action. And every time this happens again, you can just go ahead and give them a free modem or whatever it might be in that scenario. So to me, immediately, there's a risk that flags in my mind there. So if something's not quite right with what's been updated in that process, and then to your example, Sunil, there's 10,000 instances of this particular issue, incident, whatever you want to term it. And then all of a sudden the system says, yeah, we'll just send them out a free one with no human intervention. What happens then, right? How do you start to unpick it all? So while I 100% see the benefits here, and again, using that happy path demo example, perfect, brilliant, what a time saver, and then the human user, the human agent in the example can get on with things that only they can address. But then what you're going to see, I guess, as well over time is that as those things that the human agent can only address, that becomes a standard process because arguably they would do the same or highly similar things to resolve. That then becomes a task that the AI agent can take over.
Well, I think that's the dream, isn't it? But your point at the beginning of that was absolutely critical, which is that you need to understand the process. You need to understand the implications of the decisions that either the human or the AI agents make. And you need to look beyond the individual use case and at the broader potential business outcome. Because and this is not in any way to suggest that organizations shouldn't be looking at this. They absolutely should be.
They have to
be. In the use case that's presented here, the obvious thing is, do we allow an agent to make a decision around free modems, a human agent to make that decision, and an AI agent then to update the policy? Because if there are 10,000 modems that get sent out over the next 3 months, right, at a cost of, $50 per modem, and that's a business expense that isn't necessarily expected, right? That some people are going to have their, figures rattled, aren't they?
Yeah, eyebrows are going to get raised at that.
So, so the point here is adopt the technology, definitely, but think it through with care, and make sure that you understand the implications. The other thing that I think is really worth quickly touching on, actually, is that there are two types really here of agents, right? One, out of the box, and the message there is that these are use cases that operate across a multitude of customers, and it's a configuration activity really to just tweak that AI agent to do what your business does, but in reality that process is consistent across many businesses. It's following an ITIL process or whatever it may be. Yeah. The other are built AI agents. Okay, so that is an organization going and saying, right, I am going to build an AI agent that does something very specific to my organization. Now, what's quite interesting there is that ServiceNow are trying to make it very easy to build those AI agents, that there is a natural language interface that allows you to describe what you want the agent to do. It then goes away, builds that agent, and you are then able to modify, adapt it as needed. There have been, though, many times in technology, right? Use cases that show that out of the box, right, tends to offer over the longer term a much more manageable, maintainable solution with much lower technical debt associated with it than when you go and start building your own. So as an organization, that's not to suggest that you don't have specific use cases that custom-built AI agents can fulfill, but you must think beyond the, let's go and build these for everything, right? You need to think about how you maintain that.
Yeah, you need to have a plan. I mean, you talked a little earlier, Sunil, about, you need to feed and water these things, right? Like lots of things, like the platform itself needs to be maintained and kept up to date with current technology and everything else. Similarly with that, it's all very well and good sort of saying, right, I need an agent that's going to do this, and it needs to be X, Y, and Z, flowing through to A, B, and C, and so on and so on. But then who's going to look at the planning and everything else around that, the aspect? How does that then plug into your change management? Arguably, you wouldn't want people just saying, right, I'm going to create a bunch of AI agents because it's so quick and easy for me to do so, and then let them loose with no real careful consideration about actually, let's look at some scenarios here. How is this actually going to play out? Are we going to end up in a situation where somehow it's then sending out even more modems, or people get two each time that request comes through, and you end up again with that financial kind of surprise, that bit of financial shock there, or whatever shock it could be. So whilst that capability is amazing, and again something really great to showcase, I think the messaging out should be used with caution.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Good, but it's a very exciting release, isn't it? Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
We will be looking forward very much to going and talking to our customers about migrating them to Xanadu, and to look at how they can use the AI capabilities that are on offer. So watch this space, I would say, Dan. What we need to be doing really is coming back in 3, 6, 9, 12 months time with some customers and getting them to talk through their experiences, and try and quantify the benefits as well. Yeah, I mean, they're being sold on availability, it's being sold on efficiency, it's being sold on productivity, it's being sold on customer experience. Well, let's see if we can come back and actually quantify, qualify some of these things.
No, absolutely agree. I mean, on the topic of AI and agentic AI, as it's being termed now, there is a whole lot to be discussed, and I'm sure if we were to decide to do so, we could extend this podcast by at least an hour, but we're not going to do that. We deliberately kept this one short and sweet. As mentioned, there'll be a link to the video, the ServiceNow Xanadu release video, in the description. And for those listening, if there's any specific topics you'd like to hear us discuss on our podcast, or indeed if you'd like to be part of that, please just get in touch and let's have a conversation. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening.
Thank you all very much.